One, two, three, four. Just gonna find the button and flip the switch. And then we're here. Welcome to the World Show. All across the planet, it's the World Show. I could call it the Earth Show. It isn't Earth, it's here. It's a world, it's here. I'm just being very specific now. Everybody bring your refrigerated Hawaiian water. You have to remain unparched through the podcast, through the live stream. Appreciate you guys showing up. If you had an hour of your time to waste before the weekend commences, what better way to kick off your weekend than to waste it here with Gen X Talks? Yeah, that's how I feel anyway. The tempo of the show is going to take a nosedive. Yeah, it's going to go off a cliff. Nah, not in a good way. Not in the way that we normally take things off a cliff. And on the World Show, as you might have noticed, we try to talk about world issues. Sometimes I'm explaining in my country, United States of America, and the things that are going on here. I'm trying to give it to you at street level, unfiltered. Let me tell you what's really going on. And you guys do the same for me. From all over the world, you guys have been doing that. You guys called in from the Philippines, from Spain. You've done Germany, Ireland. You guys have called me and said, here's what's going on, just so you know. I don't have to listen to the news. I don't have to get it with a spin cycle on it. I don't like that. So in keeping with the spirit of the World Show, I'm not going to give you a topic that's local. I'm not going to give you a topic that's just on the street of the city that I live in. No. That would be unproductive. So, when you talk about war, I think everybody gets that. That can be a world issue, right? You talk now. If I were talking about American baseball, that might not be so interesting. You couldn't compare very easily. A lot of countries don't have baseball. All right, glad we're keeping the scorecard the same. So something hit me this morning. I got down. I had to produce the podcast this morning. You guys know the audio podcast that my wife and I do every Friday morning. There's a 1 hour audio only podcast, and we throw that out there, and it's just family life stuff. It really is, and it's funny, it's entertaining, because my wife beats the shit out of me for an hour. So those of you who don't see enough of me getting the shit kicked out of me, go listen to the podcast. One of the moderators can put up the link for you. So I got into the studio at 6:30 this morning, my time, Los Angeles time, and, finished up the podcast, edited, get the picture, do stuff, throw it out there, put it where it's supposed to be, let everybody know. I did it. My son, Gen Z kid, had a couple things his dad taped to my computer. Can you do these things? He goes off to the gym, and he has some post-production stuff, so I agreed to help him do that. And when you go along the way for a world show, for a Bottom of the Glass Nation show, as you might expect, you do some show prep. You click on the news, just click on the world news. Let's see what's going on. Some of the stuff you already know a little bit about, so you dig a little deeper so you can have a conversation, and you scroll around. Comparatively speaking, I was going to say it's been a quiet news day for a couple of days when it comes to the world news, and it comes to the world show, which is where we all are now. And all of a sudden, I started thinking in my mind, maybe this is a generational thing. Perhaps what I'm telling you, you guys go through the same thing from time to time. My mind wandered. My mind went down a rabbit hole of conversation with myself. And let me explain what I mean. Keep that thought right there, that I went down a rabbit hole and it involved the world. I went down a rabbit hole in my head, and it involved the world. Can we put that part on pause? And I promise I'll make a big circle. We'll get all the way back to it, and we'll end up right where I started. Okay. Keeping that in mind, pencil and papers down, please. I've never had a child of mine kidnapped. Well, this for argument's sake, for practicality. And I started thinking about if one of my children right now were to be kidnapped. I tried to picture what my wife would be feeling, what I would be feeling. The first few hours of a kidnapped child, I'd be thinking, where are they? What are they going through? Are they tied up? Are they blindfolded? Are they being beaten up? Are they being abused? And then, after 6, 7, 8 hours, I'd be thinking stupid things like a parent. Well, did they let my kid go to the bathroom at least? My kid's very scared. Can they call home? Are they eating? Did my kid get to eat? I can't. Then you try to put yourself in the child's point of view, point of reference. How scared would they be the entire time? 4 hours go by, 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours a day. My wife and I wouldn't be able to sleep, wouldn't be able to eat, couldn't shower, couldn't dress ourselves. I wouldn't be able to function. I couldn't move. None of that would work for me. I'm going to turn one of these things off right here for you guys so less troublesome. Now, the news would pick it up, of course, and it'd be all over your town. Your town would be in up wherever, be driving around doing stuff. And day 2, I would feel the exact same way as the first hour. My wife would be stressed out as every minute that clicked by on the clock. She would not be okay. She would be an absolute wreck. Where's our child? What's happening to them? How far away are they? Are they just in the neighborhood in a house? Are they tied up in a garage? Are they already out of the state? Everything that I think that I would maybe, possibly feel in that situation, I started to go through it this morning. Here it is. I'm sitting in the studio, 7 o'clock in the morning, supposed to be getting ready for the World Show, and all I'm thinking about is a kidnapping situation that hasn't happened. And I let myself feel it worse and worse and worse. And I have no idea why I let my emotions go down that road, because it was certainly painful. I wasn't enjoying it at all, and I couldn't stop. And it led me to a point when does it quit becoming the number one news story? When do my neighbors stop coming over and knocking on the door and saying, have you heard anything? Certainly wouldn't stop for my wife and I. Not even a little bit. But this is what happens. Stories get old. They die out. You can't lead your news story in your state. I live in California. California, that may be a big story for one day, maybe 2. But by day 3, do you still think they're going to be talking about my kidnapped child? Day 20? Day 50? Are they going to lead with day 50 of this child missing? No. And people forget. Not me, not my wife. We're still living minute by minute. Not my child who's still kidnapped. They don't forget. That story doesn't fade. They're still the ones tied up in the back of a white van somewhere. But it fades for everybody else. And how do I know? Because I'm guilty of that. I do that. I get very emotional and very upset when there's a news story on about a child that is abducted or a child that was kidnapped or a child that was, and I forget. I don't even know if my brain would keep that level of intensity, that level of anguish for someone else, for someone else's child, or even if it was on the news every single night. I don't know that my stupid, big, fat, 55-year-old, fat, white-ass brain has the ability to stay focused on the severity of that situation. I don't think I could. Why not? That's a child. If it was mine, every minute of every day until that child was brought home, and then long after that child had been found recovered, found dead, moved on, every minute for the rest of my life, it would feel the exact same way, and I'd never let it go. But when it's someone else's child, far away, or I don't have a personal connection, I don't have an intimate relationship with the family or the kid, I forget. And as I sat here this morning, remember, going around in a circle now, I'm this far around the circle, I felt horrible. The guilt that I put on myself. And it's not the city's fault. It's not the state's fault. It's not the news agency's fault that they quit running the story. It's mine. But how many of you have ever remembered something and, oh, yeah, whatever happened to that kid? You remember that kid, was a story about that kid in Nebraska how'd that ever turn out? How do you not know? How has that not been eating at you every single day, that every single day there might be an 8-year-old little boy or girl crying to go home all day, all night, for 9 months, every day, tortured, and all they're thinking about is going home, and all the parents are doing is about getting them home, and you come up 9 months later and go, whatever happened with that? How'd that go? You don't know? You haven't been following along. You haven't been begging for answers. You haven't been searching every moment of your waking life trying to keep informed. Why not? Is it less important? Is the child okay and having a good time now? Kidnappers took him to a resort. They're swimming, going to see movies. Everything okay? No, nothing changed. That is still one of the most horrible situations you could ever experience. And you forgot. You don't care. You moved on. Or I do anyway. I've done that. I started trying to remember stories and things about kids. And I remember baby Jessica falling down the well and how bad I felt about that at the time. But I also remember that it happened. It was on the news all the time. It was almost 24 hours a day. There was cameras pointing at the well with lights and people. It was a rescue mission, and and that was, until they got her out of the well. That was a big thing because there was something to view, something to look at, some news. Every 20 minutes there could be new news. But you can't do that when the child's missing. You can't just point the camera out into the landscape and go, out there somewhere is a child. News agencies don't do that. And even if they did, I've already admitted, I probably wouldn't follow along. And I'm telling you this morning, I hated myself about that. Don't worry, I'm not done yet. I expanded how much I hated myself. And what about the war in Ukraine? That was a big topic when it first started. It was in the news, well, still in the news, but it was in the news, and they showed pictures of families being displaced, of men and women trying to gather up their kids and run and flee. Some of them were fighting back, and there was bombs going off, and people's lives were ruined. I was connected to that. I had opinions on that. I was vested in that. You know when the last time an image in my brain really popped in there and I thought about Ukraine, I thought about people leaving and running and leaving all their belongings as they watch their home get destroyed, not knowing where they're going to go and where they're going to live, and how a father's looking at his wife and his kids thinking, how am I going to take care of this? You know when the last time that picture entered my head? Months. 10 months. In the beginning, I was interested. I was vested. I was angry. I had emotion, but it's been out of my mind. What about the tsunamis that killed 250,000 people? Was it 10 years ago? 11, 12 years ago? Oh, I loved watching the floodwaters come in. I had the power of the ocean washing away buildings and cars and people and stuff. That was impressive. I'm watching people's lives get ruined. What about when you really think about sweatshops in China, that they force, 7-year-olds to work in those shops, and how miserable, and the parents can't say anything. The parents can't stand up to it, working for whatever it is, $3 a day. Or do I think about that when I've got my iPhone or my Android phone, that some child was tortured so it could get here? No, I don't even want to think about that stuff normally. It's not my fault. I can't do anything about it. Leave it where it is. Quit bothering me. Quit trying to ruin my day. I'm living my life the best way I can. I didn't cause the problem. There's nothing I can do about it, so stop. That's what I used to say. That's what I was trying to tell myself this morning. I'm the one doing it to myself. I'm the one arguing with myself. I'm the one telling myself to shut up. But no matter what situation I brought up to myself, It always came back to the same thing. All of a sudden, I would be sitting in this guilt for forgetting, for intentionally not remembering. You guys remember the song, Do They Know It's Christmas? Do they know it's Christmas time? It's a big hit. It's over in Europe. 1984, December of 84. And it was about Ethiopia and feeding Ethiopians with food and water. And do they know it's Christmas? Their life is miserable. The kids go out and play with rocks and sticks and have flies all over their face. And it was powerful. And it worked. It raised awareness and it raised a ton of money. Oh, I did my part. I bought the album. Well, the single. I bought the 33-inch single. And I played it a million times. I watched the video a million times. I did my part. I gave my $7.89. As far as I know, everything's solved in Ethiopia. I never thought about it again. 40 years. Never brought it up again. We okay? Ethiopians all right? Everything fixed over there? All that money went over. Now they're on the track. They're not a third world country anymore. Everything's coming up. Lots of water, lots of food. We fixed it? I don't know. Never thought about it again. But somebody's thinking about it right now. Some mother is watching her 3 children right now go hungry. Right now. Just like a kidnapped child. The mother of that child is thinking about it right now. It's never going to go away. It's never going to get solved. It's never going to get fixed. In their mind, nothing good is ever going to come from this. Where's my fat ass? Sitting at home. Now I'm guilty. Now it's 8:15 in the morning, and I've wound myself up to all these small events that I would never remember, big events that I've clearly forgotten, and they are very important to somebody. People don't want to be reminded of that stuff. I got it. I didn't want to either. How many times have you tuned into a program where I talk like this? Not very often. Don't worry. I'm coming all the way back around to the beginning. So I'm sitting here this morning just feeling horrible about myself in every way possible. Thinking about, I knew how important it would be to those to people, to families that are going through these situations, and it never lets up. It never goes away, even if everybody else forgets. I know it's in Ukraine. There's people right now that are suffering at this moment while I'm talking. I know that there's people that lost people in those tsunamis 11 years ago that have been 11 or 12 years of never forgetting, always remembering, always missing, and it tortures them until the day they die. But I've moved on. Once I saw the videos and how impressive those were neat videos. Wow, neato. That's what I took away from the human suffering. I wasn't even smart enough to be thankful that it wasn't me. That's how dumb I am. So let me sidestep that for a second. Do you remember in the movie Iron Man, first movie Iron Man, Tony Stark comes home. He's captured in the desert. And he comes home and he just flips a switch. He goes, Stark Industries is not making weapons anymore, because he just saw the effect of weapons. He saw kids with no arms, with no legs, people that were dying, and they were from his weapons. So he just said, nah, we're not doing that anymore. Why? Because he was in a position where he could flip a switch, make a phone call, make a decision, and he could alter hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people's lives immediately, maybe thousands. I'm not Jeff Bezos. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not Bill Gates. I can't get mad and make a difference. I can't walk out of the studio and go, all right, fuck it, man. I'm not kidnapped children. I'm fixing that. Ethiopia, I'm on it. War in Ukraine. People that are displaced. There's a woman right now somewhere in Ukraine holding her child on the steps of a broken down fucking building, not knowing what she's going to feed her kid. Right now, as I'm talking, that's probably happening. I can't walk out the studio and make a change. Now, I thought about that today. Remember, I was feeling guilty all morning. that I let these things escape me, that I wasn't attentive enough. Because I know if I was the father of a kidnapped child, I would be attentive every second of every day, and it would be heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching, and it would kill me. But yet when it's someone else and it's someone far away, I just let it go. I let it go. So I had all this guilt. Then I realized, even if I wanted to do something, I'm nobody. I can't make a difference. So now I'm sitting here. Now it's about 8:30, 8:45 in the morning. I've allowed myself to feel as closely as I can the pain and suffering of what it would be like to be one of those victims. Then I felt the guilt, and now I feel worthless. On top of that, this is the greatest show prep for a world show you folks have ever seen. I'm coming to you with all this stuff like I normally do. You guys flip on the TV, you click on, you sit down and settle in. You're getting ready for a world show, and you think the general's going to sit in here and pump you up, and all he's done is bring you down. That's the show. That's the show I developed, and I wasn't even trying to. I tried to stop. I couldn't stop myself. And I went from realization to guilt to now I'm sitting there thinking I'm useless. I sat here in the dark in the studio this morning going, I can't do a damn thing. What am I going to do? Buy another record? It's kind of a weird moment to the one thing that this new studio we've got, this barn this shed in our backyard, it provides a certain amount of isolation. And for me, perhaps that's not such a good thing because my mind begins to wander, as you might have noticed. And all of a sudden, sitting here in the quiet, my grandfather's words, for some reason, popped in my head. And I'm sure he got it from someplace else, but he told me once a very long time ago, when he was still alive, and he was trying to shape my young personality to become somebody of worth. He said, to the whole world, you're just one person. But maybe to one person in your life, you're the whole world. Now, that's popped in my head off and on over the last, 30 years or so. And for some reason it did this morning. And I didn't know why. That didn't help me at all. That didn't help me one little bit. I want to be the world to that woman and her child sitting on that doorstep in Ukraine, wondering what's for I want to bring them food. I want to bring them a blanket. I want to do something. I want to count. If I'm going to be important to someone, if I'm going to be the whole world to someone, let it be someone who needs it. But I can't. So that thought in my head was like, well, that's comforting, but it doesn't mean shit. And then I thought maybe it was supposed to point me in a different direction. Follow me? Maybe if I take the guilt of all this forgetting that I do, the worthlessness that I have, that I can't change anything, maybe I can affect something right here in front of me. Now, I know the phrase, you may be the whole world to one person, is often your children, a child, a niece or a nephew, or your wife or your husband. I get that. But what if I can't change the whole world? What if I can't be that important to anybody from a tsunami in 2011? But maybe I can right here. Maybe there's someone 3 doors down that's suffering in a very, very bad way. Maybe they're sitting in their garage right now crying over something that's just out of their control and it's pounding on them. Maybe all they needed was someone to talk to. Maybe all they needed was someone to go have lunch with them and talk things through. Maybe they lost something and I could help them find it. I don't know. Maybe what my grandfather's words popping in my head didn't have as much to do with trying to solve the war in Ukraine, trying to, stop Apple from using child labor in China, or Apple stop in China. Maybe it's the sweatshops. Maybe I can't affect that. How about maybe I can just affect one thing here or one thing local? Maybe it's just to redirect me to quit feeling your global guilt and solve the things in front of you that you can. Maybe. Possibly. I don't know. There's a lot of weird things that go through your head when you start down. Again, I told you, I went down the rabbit hole. And when you go full circle with that and you come back to the beginning, you're thinking, all right. And here's where I'm bringing it all back to the beginning. I do feel guilty about all the things that I've let slip out of my mind. And there's real pain and real suffering going on all over the world, all these different instances, some things I've been very aware of, and I forgot. And I'm that idiot that comes back, how's that going again? Whatever happened with that situation? Oh, you mean the situation that those people have been living through every minute of every day since it happened and you forgot? You just want to Johnny-come-lately catch up right now? Maybe I can't do anything about my guilt or my feeling of being worthless for that, but maybe I can do something here. Maybe I can do something local. And then it kind of tied into the whole thing and brought me all the way back around to where we started. Maybe you can. Maybe you can do something in your neighborhood. I don't know. I'm not sure what level of guilt you have, if any. I'm not sure how you feel about things just passing away and not thinking about them and putting them out of your head. Maybe you're totally comfortable with that. Far out, man. I'm not judging you. If you noticed, I'm judging me. But what if my grandfather's words means that I can walk out the studio and look around in my neighborhood, in my town, and find something that I can affect a little bit of a change on? And then you do it in your town. And then she does it in her town. And then he does it over there in his town. All of a sudden, we're cleaning up our own messes. As much as we can. Nobody can stop Putin. Nobody can stop Xi. But none of us can flip a switch and make a huge difference. Not much. And maybe some of those stories from your own neighborhood, your own area, that you've let slip out of your mind or you've intentionally pushed out of your mind, maybe you shouldn't have. I'm not asking you to save the planet. Maybe just save one corner of it at a time, whatever's within your reach. I'm going to try. I don't know if I'll be successful. Maybe I'm beating my head against the wall. I have no idea. And I'd love to blame God for this. I'd love to say, why did you let me go down that rabbit hole today? God, I had stuff to do and you didn't have to. I don't think you did anything. I don't think God is guiding my life anymore. I think he's got a bag of popcorn and he's got his feet up and he's watching what I'm doing, laughing his ass off, going, you idiot. That's what I think, for me. All I'm saying is that if we're talking about a world show and we're talking about stuff that we forget, we're talking about guilt that we have at the moment that we let slip away and we never think about it again until it's over and it's too late. And all we do is, oh, that kid was found? Oh, it's been 6 months. I'm glad that worked out. Yeah, good for it. Yeah, let's go. Let's all go have a beer and celebrate. You didn't give up one moment of anxiety for that kid, and neither did I. You should feel bad that we forgot, shouldn't we? All right. I'm off my soapbox. It wasn't a soapbox, but I just needed you to know. That's why I wrote the email out today. For those of you who got Patreon, to let you know this wasn't going to be a great show. I told you, I wrote you a letter this morning, half an hour before the show, and I said, if you want to skip a show, skip this one. If you want to skip a world show, skip the one where you're not going to get any benefit from it at all, that none of this is going to make sense, and just me whining about myself. Because that's what this was. But I did come full circle. I don't feel as guilty now. I feel a little bit empowered, a little bit like, all right, if I could make one difference, remember my grandfather saying, if I could just find a way to make one difference, one thing, well, maybe that's all I got in me. If God wanted me to save 1 million people, he'd have given me the means to do it. And I don't have it. I don't have it at all. But maybe if I can walk out of here in the next 3 or 4 days, if I can seek out and find something to make a difference and keep on it, don't walk away. Well, I gave that little homeless boy a peanut butter sandwich. I'm a great person. I don't want to find myself 6 weeks from now going, I wonder whatever happened to that little boy with the peanut butter sandwich. I better fucking know. Isn't that the point of what I just said for an hour? Wasn't that the gist of the whole thing, is to continue to feel, to suffer, to go? I'm not telling you to ruin your life. I'm not telling you to go over an emotional cliff and be all fucked up forever. And, well, if they're suffering, I must suffer. I will ruin my life. I'm going to live miserable. As long as there's suffering in the world, I will be miserable too. It's not what I'm saying at all. Just saying, can you be conscious? Can you maybe set an alarm on your phone once a week? Go check on something. Go work on that little something. Because that little something, that little boy you gave that peanut butter sandwich to, he may be waiting for you to come back. Maybe set your alarm. Go back in a week. Give him another sandwich. Something. I'm not telling you to live miserable. I don't want to live miserable. But I also don't want to pretend that it's not happening, especially if it's something I can do about it. I can't disrupt the flow of iPhones, but I know how to make a peanut butter sandwich. All right. Let me go over to Between the Sheets. I do apologize. It's been a little over half an hour. I kind of told everybody the first half an hour may be a tough sell for you guys. You guys may not be interested, so if you tuned me out, I'm going to read the sheets. I'm going to drink some of my refrigerated Hawaiian water here to try to relieve myself of the parchness that I feel, which is what happens when I won't shut the fuck up and I run out of air. And I'm going to go back to the sheets. We're going to read between the sheets here and see what's going on. Maybe change the tempo. If you guys have something to say about what I said, I'm not going to skip over it. My wife will have written it in blue and we can move on. Birthday, what's the matter? She's always around, but I don't see her today. Does anybody know if she's in here today? What's the matter's birthday? I don't know how old she is. She didn't say, but it's a girl. She may not be comfortable with that. Rob C., the Redneck Rebel, welcome to being an extra. I think that was through this morning. I think that was really early this morning that Rob C. was in here. So that might. I hope he hung around. Rob, thanks for joining up. Jason Miller, please try to avoid beating yourself up. It takes a strong man to take some of the admissions you made. Jason, if that was true, I appreciate you saying that. I really do. But I don't know. Am I strong for admitting that I fucked up? Am I strong for admitting that it almost seems cowardly at some point? I'm not saying I'm a coward. I don't feel like I'm a coward, but man, I really the ball of emotions was like trying to untangle spaghetti or that big ball of Christmas lights on Christmas Vacation. There was so many aspects to it. I just lost myself in it. But thanks for saying so, Jason. Rob L., look at what the Department of Child Welfare and Family Court System do for families across America. There's a lot of good that they do. Rob L., he says, look at what the Department of Child Welfare and Family Court System do for the families across America. Good and bad. And I can speak from experience. I've been through the court systems many times with that. I've been a foster parent for years, no longer anymore. And I can tell you firsthand that there are many good and many bad things. And I do have firsthand knowledge of what a child goes through when they're removed from their parents and they're placed in a foster home. I was the foster home, and they sit and cry all night long. They don't know what's going on. They're 4, 5 years old. They just want to go home, and they're scared and they're alone. And those situations for all those years, perhaps if I think about it now, and I didn't earlier today, and I'm thankful Rob's bringing up at least that part, maybe I helped, maybe I affected some good change then. Maybe that was a good thing. Maybe I helped out one kid there. Agnes Goulier, General, you can't carry all the weight of the world on your shoulders. I know, but I can carry my own guilt and my own realizations that there's nothing I can do about some stuff. Felt pretty worthless when I realized all the things that I had forgotten that I should have been remembering because people are still going through the pain and there was nothing I could do. That was a pretty worthless feeling. All right. Nail Lever, the bigger question is, why are the fucktards who took them still allowed to breathe? Yeah, you can get into that aspect. After this is all over, it's consequences for people who stole children. Is there consequences for the people who allowed and ran the sweatshops or those? What about the diamond mines? We see pictures all the time now. That's the new thing, is that the African kids, the 6, 7 years old, working in those diamond mines, running around in bare feet in the rain, up and down the mountainside, digging diamonds for rich people. Yeah. And then I get heartbroken, and I hate that until it's over, until the video's over, and you sit there, oh, those poor children working those diamond mines. Well, okay, what's for lunch? And you move on, or I do. I move on. How stupid of me! How pompous and arrogant and never mind. Steffi O'Nurse, that's why my emails to you are as long as novels. My brain is on constant overdrive, chronic overthinking, and always worst case scenario. I totally understand. And when Steffi writes me an email, it's a book. She should label them by chapters. Adam Snottleman, along with the worry, I can't imagine the rage I'd feel for the abductor. How could it not totally consume you? Pure hell. I felt that. That was one of the things. You're right. That's one of the things I felt today was just the when I was pretending so I could understand and feel it, part of it leaked over to, I'm not going to find that child abductor and kill them. I'm going to find that child abductor and I'm going to torture them in my garage for 3 days and then I'm going to kill them. My mind went that direction because I was protection of a child. It was so overwhelming. You just there's no amount of pain and suffering you're going to be able to give back to a person who harms a child. There's not. In my book, there's just not. I don't know. Jim Nirvana, but it's fair to say it's impossible to remember everything and feel bad about it forever. There's the line. That's the line. Jim Nirvana just said it. It's fair to say it's impossible to remember everything and feel bad about it forever. I got it. That's the line. That's right. That's the whole thing is you can't. I don't think it's physically, humanly, intellectually, emotionally possible for us to stay that connected and feel bad forever. Unless it's your child. Say that sentence again, Jim. Say that sentence again, but apply it to your child that is still missing, that is still kidnapped. Say it out loud, Jim. Well, it's not possible for me to remember how I feel about my child forever. Yes, it is. Yeah, it is. And it would be. Oh, you'd wish it wasn't. But I think your statement's right. Again, what did I mention in the first 15 minutes of the program today? When it's someone else's kid you're not connected to, when it's someone else's family that you don't know, that you don't have an intimate relationship with, I think Jim's right on that. Steffi O'Nurse just talking about it brings awareness to you talk negative or positive. I agree with that, but I just think I can't. I tell you what, she's right. Steffi O'Nurse says just talking about it brings awareness, whether you talk negative or positive. But I'm not going to walk out of here stretching my arms in the sunshine and go, well, I've done my part. I've made people aware today. That's good enough for me. Did a good thing there. That's not how I feel at all. I feel like that's shit. That's nothing. That's a lame excuse for someone who's who's not famous enough to get a free milk at a local diner. That's this guy right here. Paul McDonald, maybe we can't change the whole world, but we can affect positive change in our own little corner of it with our own family, our friends, our neighbors. Paul, that's what I want to do today. I'm serious. I know this is going to sound stupid, but when I get done with here and I walk out of the studio and I shut the door, I'm going to find my son, and the first thing I'm going to do is hug him. And then I'm going to try to have a better mental attitude for my wife, for my kids. And then over the next 3 or 4 or 5 days, I'm going to go looking. Any place that I drive, anything I do, I'm going to be looking for an opportunity to make a difference if I can. I'm going to go out of my way to try to be involved in someone else's situation where they're suffering and see if I can't help and stick with it. Not just one peanut butter sandwich. Uncle Fatty, I'd take a bullet for any American, any other person, if the situation arose, because this is America, this is Earth, we're all made the same from the same space dust. That shit don't fly. I agree. I would, if the situation arose and I thought necessary, I'd stand in front of a bullet for a complete stranger. It wouldn't even occur to me not to if the situation warranted it. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Jason Miller, brother, if this helps you feeling guilt and worthless, I don't know many people that helped raise 30 plus kids. And how many people did you help working as a mechanic? Jason's right. I get the words, man. I would probably say the same words of encouragement to someone else. I would try to lift them up. I would try to make them feel better. I would point out all the cool stuff they've done in their life and say, stand on those things, man. You count, you're somebody. And for some reason, when those same words are said back to me, they feel empty. Told you I'm just a dumb mechanic in the middle of the desert. I warned you guys in the beginning. I told you. Colin Dunn, if you can change one person's view each and every day, you do change the world. It doesn't need an army. It needs one man to change. So say anything that you do. Good point. Reagan against the machine. In this world of tech, I find I'm constantly distracted. Everywhere you go or look, your attention is always being diverted to the next big thing. Yeah, I blame myself for being distracted by that very same stuff. John Morgan, $5. Tom McDonald's new video is out, and it's an American banger. Yeah, I saw some previews on that, but I didn't see what it was yet. Jason Miller, good morning, handsome general. Hope all is well in your corner of the world. My wife and I enjoyed sharing some truth with you in the Bottom of the Glass Nation last night, which last night's show was a much more lighthearted, friendly show, was it not? Tomash is in here, gifted 5 memberships. Dim Nirvana, Jason Mitchell, Jeff B, Thomas Bloop. I'm not saying that name. Biolariki. Well, you guys just change your name to Smith, and I won't fuck it up. Michael Walker. Sephor Hernandez, first question, how do you feel about the UFO conference and confirming UFO? Yeah, we'll get to that, just not today. I will. There's some stuff. I've been doing some homework on that, and I made a few phone calls to some friends of mine in levels of communication way above my pay grade. Got some interesting insight on that. Listen, I know we started a little bit early, and we're about 50 minutes in. What's that? I didn't? Oh, well, I thought you wrapped it up there. Let me go through that. I've been informed that I didn't finish my job here. Mr. Fatty, you helped keep my mind off dealing with the cancer journey with my wife. We are scared but optimistic. She has surgery on August 14th. Mr. Fatty is one of those people going through cancer with his wife, thinking about it every minute of every day, and it's not going away, and it doesn't leave them, even after this show, and you guys, oh, Mr. Fatty is, well, I hope that turns out okay, and you'll forget. So will I. And I love Mr. Fatty, and I will forget, and that's stupid of me because there's a person going through some real suffering. Believe me, I know my wife had cancer. Craig Downing, welcome to being an extra. Craig, thanks for hanging out. Don't take your money back, please. We love you. Put that dollar in the kitty and just stick around. Gen Z 2, Gans12. Member for 4 months, Legion of X, dropping by saying hello. The incompletion is $10. You can't change the world, but you can change your world. But for the record, you do a lot more good than you know. Even it's as simple as bringing common sense thinking back into the world. Brandon Mitchell dropped $5 and didn't say why, but we know it goes to 8-Bit, who is broken in my driveway right now. Incompletionist, thank you for saying that. Who knows? My grandfather told me a story one time about telling a lie and tried to explain when you tell a lie, how it's the lie spreads and it affects and you can't fix it. Here's the story he told me. He said he told me one time, he said, take a piece of paper, a notebook sized piece of paper, and he says, walk to the school and back. And the school was 2.5 miles away. He says, as you go along, tear off a little tiny piece of that paper and drop it and keep walking. As you walk, just tear off a little piece all the way to the school. And then I walked all the way back, and he says, okay, you walked to the school and back, you tore the pieces of paper? I said, yeah. He goes, okay, go pick them all back up, and let's put that piece of paper back together again. And I said, you want me to walk and go find all? He goes, yeah, you walked you know where you walked, right? You know where you dropped them all, right? So yeah, it was a straight line. I went down these streets and went right to school, and I walked down the same streets and right back. He goes, good. Then you should be able to find all the pieces of paper and put them all back together and fix it right back up. I said, well, there's no way. Cars have gone by and run over them. The wind is blown. Time has passed. Who knows where those papers are anymore? I'd never find them all. I probably couldn't even find half. And my grandfather said, that's like telling a lie. After you tell a lie, you have no idea how far that lie will travel. You have no idea how far that will go. You don't know where the wind is going to take that lie and how many thousands of people can be affected by it. It's gone. It's out of your control. You can't take it back, and you can't fix it. I hated that. But he also told me a similar story later in life about what you guys just said. About saying things that are good, common sense, putting things out there in the world, even if it's just one good thing, one good sentence, one good paragraph, or maybe even one lowly good world show. You don't know where it's going to go. You don't know who has watched this show and is going to repeat it. Something good. Maybe it'll work its way to someone important. And they'll do something great with it. And I don't mean the program. I just mean some of the words, some of the thoughts, some of the ideas. Maybe you're right. Maybe putting them out there is the opposite of telling a lie and having a lie travel everywhere. Maybe throwing out some good stuff every now and then travels the same way. Maybe that happened here today. I don't know. You guys said a lot of stuff in the comments, and you said a lot of stuff in the sheets. A lot of good things for me. A lot of things for me to think about. You guys filled in a lot of pieces of the puzzle for me this morning when I was having a very inward spiral. I wouldn't say downward. I'm not psychotic. It just was, I was pointing that high-powered perception at myself for a change, and I didn't like it. I think you guys help with some of that. So listen, I got to go. I do. I got to get out of here. I got a full day ahead of me. And as you know, you guys are already aware of some of the directions I'm heading. So listen, thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the comments. Thank you guys for the kind words. Thank you guys for not hanging up. A lot of you did. A lot of you came in for 3 seconds and left. But there's some of you that actually sat back in your chair with a drink and processed this with me. I would have been much worse off had you guys not been here. So thank you. I owe you guys. I keep trying to tell you I get more out of this program than you guys do. You guys keep me more centered than you're ever going to know. I'm sorry today's World Show wasn't a typical show. I'm sorry that it kind of went off the reservation from the very beginning. I think if I'd have tried to fake my way through talking about, Netflix has hired artificial intelligence, I think you guys would have saw right through it. The show would have been terrible, and I don't think anybody would have come back. I think it would have been like something you wished you skipped over. So at least I was honest with you, and I told you what we were talking about right in the beginning of the show, and the email on Patreon. Everybody got it who's part of Patreon. You knew ahead of time. I was honest with you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Wherever you're listening from around the planet, AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps on the Armed Service Radio Network. I'm not sure what's going on in my head, but I promise you, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Thanks again.